Hello and welcome to another episode of Off-Season Grades here on the Field of 68. My name is Rob Dosser. I have with me today Terrence Oglesby, and the only guy that I want to talk to Terrence Oglesby about, the only new head coach in the country I want T.O.'s opinion on, and no other man's, Will Wade, NC State. The Wolfpack hired probably what I would say, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, T.O., the perfect fit between coach and program that you're going to find in college basketball. Will Wade, NC State. The roster changes have been dramatic, to say the least. I believe there was only one player coming back from last season's Wolfpack team that was coached by Kevin Keatts, but they've added Trey Holloman from Michigan State. They've added Terrence Arsenault from Houston. They've added Van Allen Lubin from up the road in Chapel Hill. They brought in Quadir Copeland and Allen Breed from McNeese. They got a couple other transfers. They got a couple of freshmen added to the mix. But the big one, T.O., the biggest name, the biggest transfer they added was Darian Williams from Texas Tech. Let's start with this. Will Wade, NC State. What do you like about it?
First things first, I like everything about the fan base match with Will Wade. I love everything about the university level match with Will Wade. There's a toughness about this fan base, and I mean that in the most complimentary fashion, because they're sick and tired of hearing about Duke. They're sick and tired of hearing about North Carolina, and they want somebody to do something about it. Dadgummit. So I'm happy for the fan base because now they have something to talk about with consistency. And they have a guy in Will Wade who can really coach. And he's a guy that really doesn't give a fiddler's you know what about what you think about him. He's going to coach, he's going to recruit at a high level, and he's going to get guys to play at a high level. And I like the matchup, the matching of players here. And we talk about puzzle pieces all the time. Like Trey Holloman, as far as a Will Wade type of guy, he's going to average close to 5 assists a game, averaged almost 4 a game last year at Michigan State for a team that couldn't throw it in the ocean with their feet in the water, still found a way to find guys buckets. That's a big deal. So you look at all these pieces and how they've shot the ball over the past few seasons. I'm optimistic. And I'm also optimistic that a guy like Terrence Arsenault, who comes from Houston, his offensive game is going to open up a little bit because he's going to be playing, one, in a different conference, two, for a different coach, but he's still going to have the habits of what Kelvin Sampson had. So you look at all those guys, and you already mentioned Darian Williams. I like where the program's going. It gives me excitement as a guy who played in the ACC, who lives in ACC country up and down the East Coast. Like, this is going to be a fun team to watch, and they're going to be competitive immediately.
It adds to the narratives and the storylines and the intrigue of a conference where it feels like some of that was a little bit lacking this past season, right? Like now, NC State, North Carolina games are must-see television instead of just being interesting in the triangle there in North Carolina, right?
Yep.
Now, when NC State plays Duke, that becomes something where, that might be for ACC championships within the next 2 or 3 years. And I don't think that that's something where I'm exaggerating on that either. So, and the fact that Will is one of these guys that will go into Cameron Indoor Stadium, win in Cameron Indoor
Cause a
Stadium.
ruckus.
Yes, and then tell you all about it and let you know about it and talk about it. Like what did he say about Van Allen Lubin? Yeah, he didn't play at that school up the road, but he's going to play for us. He's not afraid to get out there in the
because
media.
they weren't smart enough or something like that. Like, dude, just a wild statement.
Yes.
And that's one of those too. Like, you get going, and it's like, well, they're not stopping me now. Nobody's telling me to be quiet. I'm just going to keep on going because I'm firing the people up.
Yeah.
Will doesn't care. That's first and foremost. And not only that, like, you want to talk about walking into a good situation in year one. I don't think they play Duke or North Carolina on the road. Like, their schedule in year one's kind of built to win. So I'm excited about all those guys. You look up and down the roster. I think the depth sticks out to me too. Scotty Abube, who transfers from Wyoming, is kind of like this perfect backup 5. Like, he's super athletic. He's super strong. He's going to come in. He's going to muck it up a little bit, and he's going to really rebound. I think that's a really good fit. Jerry Dang, who transfers from Florida State, had moments last year for Leonard Hamilton where he would knock down 3-4 threes in a row, so he could be your off the bench spark plug on a given night. Quadir Copeland, who I call the microphone whenever he was at Syracuse, goes down to McNeese, has success, follows Will back. He's back in the ACC. So you have a bunch of guys that are already proven at the level. So you talk about what NC State's going to be here in the next few years. One, they're going to be competitive. after they really get going over the next couple of years, I think they're going to compete for ACC championships. I think they're going to be that good. And as long as that fan base is motivated to continue to get the collective going, and I don't, you could still run a collective. You got to figure out ways to use it, but you can still run a collective. Uh, Will's going to get them. How are they going to compete moving forward? I think it's going to be pretty consistent in that matter.
Yeah, as far as this year is concerned, I love the Trey Holloman edition, as you mentioned. There's
Yeah.
a level of toughness that he brings that I think will really fit with what Will wants to do. Terrence Arsenault and Van Allen Lubin, I think, are good bets on maybe being able to provide a little bit more production in a different spot. To me, the two X factors for this team are one, Allen Breed's health. He still isn't quite back to 100% after dealing with a knee injury at McNeese that took a little more time to heal than maybe they necessarily expected. So getting him healthy is big. He was a guy that he was when
Good when he was healthy.
yeah, when he was at McNeese last year, he was the best player on the team that ended up winning a game in the NCAA tournament, and then he hurt his knee, right? He was the guy that they were excited about before they had a team that was good enough to go win a game in the tournament. But the bigger one to me is Darian Williams, and I'm curious what you think about this, because he is a guy that they are going to rely on to be their alpha, to be their number one, to be the guy that they run offense through, to be the guy that they run offense for, right? He needs to be an all ACC first team, potentially ACC player of the year caliber player for NC State to be a top 20 team this year, in my opinion. And I don't know if he's necessarily built for that as much as he is for being the 1A to another number one option, if that makes sense. So his adjustment to being the first guy in the scouting report and being the first guy that a play gets called for and how he kind of adapts to that is going to be the key to whether or not NC State can reach their ceiling this season.
Yeah, I mean, it helps to have a player of the year type of guy. I mean, that happens anywhere. But, Darian Williams, I think the habits that he's going to keep and that are going to hold over. I look at this team defensively, too, and you're like, your eyebrows can raise for a second because it's like, man, Trey Holloman, dude guards, and he's tough. Allen Breed, he really guarded at Providence before he was even at McNeese State. And then he got to McNeese State and he started scoring a lot. So it was like, oh, that's great. Arsenault, we know he's coming from Houston. He's got size and length. He's going to guard. Darian Williams, he's going to guard. Van Allen Lubin, tough. And did he want to play more at North Carolina? Sure. He's small at the 5. He's 6'8". So defensively, is Scotty Abube going to be able to throw a curveball at the 5 position to be able to block shots and do some of those things? I'm really curious to see what they do with their starting lineup, because Van Allen Lubin at the 5, that's going to be tough. Do you start Abube? They had the kid committed from France, right? That was had like a 7'5" wingspan that decommits. I actually thought that was kind of a big loss, because you look at the makeup of the rest of the roster. That, how is that going to work? I don't know that Scotty Abube is a full-time starter. I just don't.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Yeah, that was gonna be my next question for you.
Yeah, like who's their 5?
Yeah, with the way that Will wants to play defensively, there's going to be some gambles taken. There's going to be some risks taken, and when you have an eraser at the rim that makes sure that any of those risks that turn into layups get put through the backboard, that changes the way that you can play defensively a little bit. And Van Allen Lubin is a good player and it has produced in the SEC and at the ACC level, but he's not a shot blocker. That's not what he does best.
He's a position guy. And really, if you wanted to go huge with your starting lineup, you put Abube at the 5 and then Van Allen at the 4, Arsenault, Williams, Holloman. Or you go Allen Breed. So if Allen Breed's healthy. So there's some lineup versatility there. But, you look at all these different players. I like the fits between the guys. You look at their 3-point shooting percentage. Trey Holloman didn't shoot a great ball, but he hit a third of them. So, I'm willing to live with that. Allen Breed shot 50%. That's very good. Arsenault 34 could be better, but you have a bunch of guys that are serviceable from the perimeter too. Will draws them up. So I'm excited about this team. Defensively, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be right in the mix every game because I think they're going to be physical. They're going to play tough, and Will's going to coach that into them. Uh, another X factor we haven't really talked about so much. Copeland. 4.5 assists a game at McNeese. That dude's got arms for days. He had a dunk a couple of years ago when I was calling Syracuse at Louisville with West Durham. He had a dunk there in that game that was one of the most absurd dunks I've seen in person. He is a high level athlete. I think he's a really good player. Do you play him at the point some if Trey Holloman starts feeling it offensively? So I like the bodies that they can throw out there on a given night. I like the defensive versatility they have around the perimeter. Who's their rim protector? And rim protection it's something like if you have all those pieces, there's still really good offensive players that you're going to play throughout the course of the season. You got to have somebody meet you there. And if you're not going to do that, you better be really good at taking charges. That's really hard to do now, especially with the way the rules have changed over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, that's if there is a concern that I have for the roster that was built, that's it, right? Like when you are at the McNeese State level and
That
you
might be
decide,
it.
yeah, and you
That's the
decide,
only thing I can find.
and you decide that you want to play like 6'2" to 6'6", 1 through 5, right? And switch everything. And then you're play Christian Shoemate at the 5, who's like a 6'4" power forward. That
Yeah.
works when you're playing in the Southland and when you're trying to sneak up on someone in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if that necessarily works when you're playing in the ACC every single night. So that's probably the one question that I have.
In a league that still has 5 men.
Yes.
Like the ACC still has fives that play that, and they're still rolling around 7 foot. Even the guys like Notre Dame who don't have this like massive five, Kebajai 6'10". Like you look up and down different rosters throughout the conference, like Henry Visar at North Carolina, 7 foot. And then they're going to probably play Stevenson some at the 6'11". So like you look at how big the teams are in the league, the 5-man matters, like especially in this league. So curious to see how they're able to work around that. They're going to have to do some different things schematically, switch a lot of stuff, and then throw extra bodies. But because those wings that we mentioned, Arsenault, Copeland, Holloman, Breed, they're all long. So like if you're able to get over and trap quickly, deflect passes, you're going to be able to negate some of those things. But I still think that 5 spot is really important. Can Scotty Abube be that guy for 15 minutes a game that comes over and blocks some shots and provide some physicality at the 5 spot? That's the only concern I have.
I love when there's these random Mountain West transfers that
Yeah, I know right
pop
away.
up, and you know everything about them, and you know exactly how to pronounce their names, and it's because somehow a guy that grew up in East Tennessee that now lives in Greenville, South Carolina, has become the go-to expert when it comes to Mountain West basketball.
Yeah, for the league too. So I go over there and do Mountain West games. How that works, I can't figure it out. But yeah, Scotty Abube, just he's a big underskilled guy, but he is powerful. So I'm because of that lack of refined skill, like he dunks hard, he does all those things, more of a dunker spot guy. I don't know how much you can play him because he doesn't provide enough offensively on the perimeter to where like you can run some of your actions. But he's built like a powerhouse, man.
Hey,
Like
man,
we'll see.
sometimes it doesn't hurt to have a guy where you say, go get the ball, you hit the ball, catch it and dunk it, go set this screen, run him over if you have to. I don't care. You're playing 12 minutes a game. Go use all 5 of your fouls. It doesn't matter to us. Sometimes it kind of helps to have a guy that can go out there and do that.
100%. 100%.
What are the realistic expectations in your mind for NC State this season? I think with a couple years, we're going to be talking about NC State the same way we're talking about St. John's under Rick Pitino. I really do believe that. Year one,
Wow.
I think it's more
Okay.
like borderline top 25-ish. You get to the tournament, you win a game, you're probably happy with that season.
Are St. John's fans happy with that now? That with what Rick's doing? Just out of
He,
curiosity, what's
he
your
won
thoughts
the
on
Big
that?
East. He won the Big East tournament, and he made it to the NCAA tournament. And they are nationally relevant. That's what I'm referring to. Not so much like, we're going to see them ranked at the top of whatever. They're going to be right there at the very top of the ACC when talking about NC State, at the very top of the ACC, competing for ACC championships and in the mix for like top 2, 3, 4 seeds where they have a chance to be able to make a deep run in the dance. I think that's what's coming in the next 2 to 3 years for NC State. This
Yeah,
year
and
alone, I mean, 7 seed that wins a game in a tournament, I think that's a great season for NC State this year.
I think that's possible to happen this year. Get to the tournament, win a game, depending on draw. Like it's all about who you play in the NCAA tournament too. And I feel like they can out tough you, and they're going to have nights where they can really score it. But it's going to be nights. If that night is on game one of the NCAA tournament, they can win a game, and then over the course of a weekend get hot. You never know. But you look at what Will's done over the course of being a head coach. The last 6 seasons he's been a head coach, he's been in the tournament. One of which made a Sweet 16, and then 2 other years won a game. So I think if you're an NC State fan right now, where your program has been, I understand the Final Four run. I get all that, but it took a freaking miracle to get there. That's not a shot. It's not a shot. But I think if you have consistency there in Raleigh, I think you should be really, really happy.
Yep. That's where I'm at with it too. All right. Put a ball in it, T.O. What is your grade for the offseason for the Wolfpack?
I'm giving it an A because you basically had to recycle the whole thing. Plus, you had Darian Williams by himself. That puts you at least a B plus. And I like some of the other additions, bringing along Quadir Copeland, bringing along Alan Breed, Trey Holloman. I think like I'm giving them an A because of having to recycle the entire thing. If they were able to hold on to the 7 foot, the international kid, and I'm missing on his name right now. I don't know
Paul
if you
Mbaya, right?
say that again.
Paul.
Yes, Paul Mbaya.
Yeah.
If
Paul
they
Mbaya.
would have kept him, it would have been an A plus. But with a little bit of a hole at the 5 spot, and I'm not saying it's a huge hole, it worries me a little bit. But hey, guys, after a dismal season, you had Will Wade. You get an A minus right there.
Yes.
You get Darian Williams. Give me an A. The only hole I can find is lack of rim protection and a 5-man with significant size that can compete on a night-to-night basis in a league that still uses 5 men. That's the only scare I have. But give me an A for NC State. You deserve it. Congratulations. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be exciting.
I went for a lot of the same reasons. I went with an A minus. I went from an A to an A minus because they whiffed on PJ Haggerty, right? Like I think if you get Paul Mbaya and PJ Haggerty, then it's an A plus, and it's maybe the best offseason that anybody in the ACC has, up there with the likes of Purdue and Houston and some of those guys. But I went with an A minus. I am a little bit concerned as well about the guard play, because if Alan Breed isn't healthy and Trey Holloman is Trey Holloman, like there's a little bit of a lack of scoring pop in that backcourt that PJ Haggerty could have solved. But it's hard to complain about an A minus, right? You go from being a team that has been right around 500 to being a team that everyone's like, hey, you know what? They got a chance to be top 25 and make the tournament. To me, that's a pretty good thing. Listen, T.O., always a pleasure, man. We're going to be rolling out about 40 to 45 of these offseason grades throughout the month of August and September. So make sure you're locked in on the Field of 68, both the podcast feed and the YouTube channel, to get all of these offseason grades. T.O., always good to see you, man.
Appreciate it.